All right, let's shift gears, bring you one of the big stories on the continent today. Polls officially opening in Namibia for citizens to elect a new president and members of the National Assembly. The question, of course, on everyone's lips is, will SWAPO, that's the governing party, retain power, and will its presidential candidates, that's Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, become the country's first female president? Let's unpack perhaps what this day means and the implications moving forward. Bring in our guest, research fellow at UJ Centre for Africa-China Studies. That's Dr. Sizo Nkala, who's with us via our video link this morning. Dr. Nkala, great to see you again. Thanks very much indeed for making time to speak to us. You know, if the trend in the region, certainly perhaps even elsewhere in the world, is anything to go by, we all know that, quite frankly, everything is at stake when it comes to the election. In other words, there's no telling really what the outcome is likely to be.
Yeah, there is no telling at all. I mean, if SWAPO's past performance in the 2019 elections is anything to go by, I think there is really no telling what this election result will be. Because in 2019, SWAPO lost its two-thirds majority for the first time since 1990. Also in the 2020 local and regional elections in Namibia, SWAPO lost massively. I think it lost about 30 local municipalities across Namibia. It also lost 4 regions in the country. So there is no telling at all. The political landscape in Namibia has changed, especially with the emergence of new parties like the Independent Patriots for Change, the IPC. We have attracted, I think, massive support from young people as well.
Absolutely. Help us place just the context in which this election is taking place, Dr. Nkala, perhaps even in broad strokes. For one, we know that Namibia's history is very similar to South Africans, at least when it comes to the issue of racial discrimination. And, you know, all of those dynamics typically feed into how a country's democracy grows. What do you reckon are some of the salient issues that are likely to emerge from this poll?
I think some of the important factors in this election are the demographics, because SWAPO is a former liberation movement, just like the ANC. So its support has been drawn largely from people who remember the liberation struggle, so who have a sentimental and emotional connection with SWAPO. We have supported the party over the last 3 decades. But demographics have changed. Namibia is a young country with a median age of 21 years. So the overwhelming majority of the Namibia are young people who were not there during the liberation struggle and who do not have that sentimental connection with SWAPO, the liberation movement. All they care about is service delivery and then jobs, employment, economic growth. That's all they care about. And SWAPO has failed to deliver on that front. So its appeal to the young voters, I think, is significantly reduced. Another factor here is the gender factor, as you mentioned. SWAPO's candidate, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, she stands to be the first female president in Namibia. Like any other African country, Namibia is a patriarchal society. There are traditional gender stereotypes that remain an obstacle against women empowerment and advancement. So it remains to be seen whether her candidacy for the presidential elections will transcend these gender stereotypes that we have seen in other countries. I mean, she will be the second, if she is elected, she will be the second woman to be elected to the highest office in Africa after Ellen Johnson of Liberia. So I think that's something to watch as well. I think the economic factor as well is important in this election, because Namibia is in a post-apartheid era, but the transition has been incomplete despite the advent of democracy in 1990. The transition has been incomplete. The land reform has been very slow. There is a massive housing backlog, which has forced most people to stay in informal settlements. There is also, the distribution of wealth remains highly uneven and highly unequal, with a few, a small group of white people holding most of the wealth at the expense of the majority of black Namibians who remain marginalized within the Namibian mainstream economy.
Right.
And also, I think another factor would be corruption as well in the Namibian sector. There have been major corruption scandals like the fishing scandal that was uncovered in 2019. There have been an arms deal scandal. This has tarnished the image, the public image and reputation of the ruling party.
Sure. Sounds incredibly familiar, Dr. Nkala. But before we digress, I suppose as you bring up issues to do with wealth distribution and corruption, it'd be remiss of us not to speak about prospects of these massive oil discoveries, which we're told are likely to be made in the country by the year 2030. Reuters putting that figure at 2.6 billion barrels. And of course, we know that there's all kinds of things that come with the prospects of discovering such a huge deposit of oil. And sometimes not all of it is actually good.
Yeah, I think in Africa is replete with cases of resource curse where oil discoveries become a curse to the countries where those discoveries are made, fueling conflict and instability. So hopefully, we hope that with these discoveries of oil in Namibia, the governance of these resources will be different. But if the governance of the fishing resources in Namibia is anything to go by, we cannot be very confident that there will be effective governance of oil resources in Namibia, and that the revenues will be fairly distributed and benefit the Namibian people. Natural resources tend to benefit the politicians who control access to those resources. They were taking bribes to give foreign companies access to Namibia's rich fishing waters. So I don't think there will be anything different this time around. Hopefully, will be proven wrong.
Yeah, hopefully indeed. Botswana is one of Namibia's neighboring countries, and of course, how the elections unfolded in that country are well documented, and not to be preemptive at all. But if that trend were to follow through and spill over into Namibia, how confident are you that there would be as smooth a transition of power from SWAPO to whoever might take over, if indeed that happens?
Well, I think the chances are high that there is likely to be a smooth transition of power if, in case SWAPO loses power. Judging by the way they took their electoral, it wasn't really an electoral defeat, but electoral underperformance in 2019, and in the general elections in 2019 and in local elections in 2020. They accepted, the late president, H. Geingob, who was the president then, accepted the results of those elections and then promised that the party will self-introspect. He said the party has heard the people and it will self-introspect. So there was a sort of gracious acceptance of the results, which we hope will continue should the ruling party be defeated in these elections. And also Namibia is one of the most stable countries. It doesn't have a history of instability. So I don't think any electoral upset in these elections will cause any instability or resistance from the ruling party.
All right. It seems no matter how it goes, history beckons. So we'll all watch very closely to see how it all unfolds. For now, Dr. Sizo Nkala, thanks very much indeed for your insights. Appreciate the time. Dr. Nkala is a research fellow at UJ's Centre for Africa-China Studies. Once again, thanks very much indeed.